Nobody's in this big building but me, and I don't like to stay too long.
Sure.
And I didn't alert Capitol Police that I was still here. So, okay.
So is 5:30 to 6:30 okay for you?
Yeah, I just, and I don't know how long, we were going to be talking. I see that we come on at 5:55, but I just wondered I didn't know how long we were going to be talking, but
now what I can do is, if Dr. Thompson don't mind, we can start your conversation and let Dr. Thompson be last.
That'll be great for me, so that I can. Yeah, okay. Because I forgot to call Capitol Police. Because I like them in here when I'm in here this long.
Look, I understand. A lot of time, I'm almost getting ready to call my compound down here on the reservation, because it's, to be on in a building that has 4,000 square feet and 7 acres, and I work late sometimes. I'm going to stop doing that, because I'm wide open. It's not like I can scream. I got security in the building and everything, but it's still not good.
Yeah. And I go out into a parking garage, and I'm sure I'm the only car out there right now. Yeah. So, do you think Angela will be on then?
It's 5:29, so we're going to wait another minute. Okay. And for her, and look, we're going to be right on schedule, because I've had a long week, and if I'm probably not going to be my jolly self, but I'm going to make it work.
I wish I could say tomorrow was a good day, but I have a panel tomorrow that I'm on, and so it just goes on. So I'll be here at 7:30 in the morning.
Look, I had a wonderful. We were shut down the whole week of Thanksgiving, and I planned to we shut down for Christmas week. So I'm just rocking and rolling, gonna stick it out, and I got a target of Christmas week to really get some downtime. Yeah.
I don't blame you. I
understand. I think that's all of us, just waiting for that finish line.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Look,
definitely.
And I'm not complaining through this COVID. We're glad to be busy. We're glad to have a full class in the building and all of this work to do. So I'm totally grateful, but we're just doing what we need to do.
Well, our numbers are so low here that it's just sad, but I understand it. I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it was an interesting thing while we wait to give Angela another minute. Well, Miss Brown called. Let me make sure she wasn't sending me a message. Okay, no.
She may have been letting you know I was waiting. I was making sure I wasn't on the wrong Zoom call.
Okay, I know we have challenges, but I was talking to someone the other day, another fellow coffee drinker, and I tell you, pandemic's been the thing that have made me curtail my lattes. Because, even if you could, if you got a few dollars change in your pocket, coffee is a luxury these days, at least a latte, And I've had a pretty decent coffee machine at home, so I've been having, most days I try to make my own coffee at home, and maybe I'll do one day a week, because it's just a real comfort to me to pull up and get my coffee, my latte, And I love the people that are at the baristers, the baristas that are at the coffee shop. They've been just wonderful to me. But I was just thinking, even if we think about restaurants, and that's been the big conversation these days about saving our restaurants. But the reality of it is, too, I don't know how many of those we're going to be able to save, because when you think of people who are limited on their funds right now, even before COVID, going out to eat was it was a deal. It was a big deal. And you went out for business, you had lunch, you had lunch, or you went out for dinner on business meeting, or when you got together with friends. But now, since people are limited with their dollars, that's going to be a real challenge for restaurants,
It sure is.
Yes, even the restaurants that are our favorite places to go, I try to put it on my agenda to really kind of definitely give a few dollars to my favorite restaurants because I want them to stay alive. You know, we want them to be here when we finally get to a point to where we get back to something.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just know that that's going to be a real challenge. I was just thinking about that today, you know, and I just had a lot going on. I said, look, let me just get a latte. I know I always feel better. so I said, look, I'm going to have to decide on cutting something else out. So I just drove and got my latte way on the other side of town.
Way on the other side of town. But I don't drink coffee, so I drink teas. I love teas and real honey in it. That's what I love.
I can drink coffee at midnight. I could drink coffee at 1 a.m. in the morning. I don't care what time it is. I love the smell of it. I love the whole preparation of it. You know, I love the whole process of putting the coffee in, smelling it when it brews through the cup.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I love the cup itself.
Oh my goodness. I love coffee cups now, but no.
Yeah.
I bought my friend a Keurig and he just loves that thing. That's whatever he wants to do with it, but just give me a cup of tea.
And it's not it takes a special cup. Here's Angela. You know, certain cups makes your coffee taste a certain way. But anyway, I won't get on that. I could talk on and on and on about coffee, but
about coffee.
Yeah. Miss Angela, are you with us? I think she's still trying to connect by audio.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and launch us to Facebook while she gets totally in, because we're running a couple of minutes behind.
So, hi, Angela. How you
doing?
Angela. Hey.
Okay, let me get our radio launched, and we are live. Okay, this is Willie Jones, and you've tuned in into another edition of the Women for Progress radio show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a wonderful week, and I hope you've had a wonderful week. We're going to get right into our conversation tonight because we have, as usual, a lot to talk about, great information to share, some exciting events that are coming up. We want you to stay tuned. The Women for Progress organization this month of December, like many other months during this year, we have a lot of great activities and conversations that we're going to be having during this month of December. And one of the most exciting annual events that we, Women for Progress, has partnered with the two Mississippi museums for how many years now, Pam?
You know, it's been a while, Willie. So glad to be on your show because we started back at Smith Robertson Museum and Culture Center, and the museum has been open since 2017. Right. And you, the Women for Progress and our Kwanzaa program, that was the inaugural program for the two Mississippi museums. Yeah. So it's been a great partnership.
It is, and we're excited this year, and we're going to talk more about that Of course, we have our Health Matters doctor, Dr. Erica Thompson. We're going to be talking about the new vaccine that's coming up. I think that's what our conversation is going to be about tonight. But she always has some great information, so we're going to share that. Thank you all so much for tuning in on this past Wednesday, where we talked about COVID and the vaccine. And if you want to listen to that conversation, we had some incredible women, Dr. Sandra Melvin and Dr. Olga Osby and Dr. LaFara Young, just amazing women in their field. And if you want to go back and listen to that conversation, go to this page that you're on now, go to videos, and you can pick up those podcasts. Of course, you can find all of our programming on the Women for Progress Radio Network at womenforprogressradio.com, womenforprogressradio.com. So let's get into the conversation. Our major topic tonight is Kwanzaa 2020. Kwanzaa 2020. We are so excited. This is an annual event that's been going on for years, and we're going to talk a little bit about the history of Kwanzaa. But this year it's going to be virtual. We are not going to let COVID turn us around. We're going to do it big as usual. It's going to be an inspiring week. So COVID has allowed us an opportunity that we're doing this thing virtual. We've been doing one night for the past few years. So this year we're going to be doing a presentation December 26th through January 1. And it's going to be powerful. So we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk about the importance of Kwanzaa, what Kwanzaa means, what are the principles, and how we can take those principles and the whole idea of Kwanzaa and incorporate into our lives right now with this particular pandemic that we're going through. So thank you so much for tuning with us. To have tonight with us for this conversation, Ms. Angela Stewart, who's Vice President of Women for Progress and the archivist for the Margaret Walker Alexander Library at Jackson State University.
No, Margaret Walker Center at Jackson.
Margaret Walker Center at Jackson State University. Welcome, Angela. I feel so funny saying welcome. You've been part of this network forever.
Yeah, Willie, I had to make that distinction because there is a Margaret Walker Alexander Library as well.
Okay, so great. On Robinson Road, right. Yes, thank you. And the incredible Miss Pam Jr., who is Executive Director, did I say that right, Pam? Of two Mississippi Museums?
Director of the two Mississippi Museums.
The two Mississippi Museums. And also a part of Women for Progress. All of these women tonight are part of Women for Progress. So thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight for this conversation. I want to give the dates of this particular event first. It's going to be December 26th through January 1st, each evening at 6 p.m. December 26th through January 1, each evening we will have a separate broadcast celebrating the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. So we want you to tune in here on Facebook. You're going to also be able to get it by audio on all of our radio networks. We're going to be live on YouTube. We're going to be live on Instagram. You're just going to be able to see us wherever you catch your podcasts and your news. You're going to be able to get us. So this is going to be a great event. So mark your calendars, share it with your family and friends, those particular dates, and we want you to be part of that program. So Angela, I want to start by talking about, before we get into the actual discussion about Kwanzaa, about what Kwanzaa has meant for this organization. Miss Dorothy Stewart Samuel started this celebration so many years ago, and specifically for a reason. And it has always been something that has been meant a lot to her. That's why it has been maintained a staple within Women for Progress organization. So talk a little bit about that history.
Yes, and it's a very long history. In 1970, my father, Peter Stewart, was awarded a Yale Urban Fellow, which took us to San Francisco, California. So my mother had the opportunity to see Kwanzaa firsthand in California, under the auspices of Maulana Karenga and others. While we were there, because as you know, Kwanzaa was founded in 1966 by Maulana Karenga. And she brought it back to Mississippi, and as Pam mentioned, it's been hosted at the Smith Robertson Museum, the Masonic Temple. It's been hosted in businesses such as Samira's Restaurant, which was on Capitol Street. It's been hosted in private homes, from Myrtle Cowherd's home, to Attorney Isaac Bird's home, to Charles Mosley III's home. So it's been in a wide variety of venues, and because my mother was a cultural activist, she felt the need to bring to Jackson and to Central Mississippi something that would be positive and uplifting for the community.
Yes, that's a rich history, and I want to move right on to the conversation around history. You know, when I think about you, we were having our meeting this week, and you were sharing with us and reminding us of the 7 principles and what they mean. And I mean, each one speaks to where we are right now as a community. It's amazing and powerful how every single principle speaks to not only what we're going through, but it provides a solution for us, provide us a clear pathway through what we're going through right now. So talk about Kwanzaa and what it means in the 7 principles.
Okay, yes. Maulana Karenga, as I mentioned, founded Kwanzaa in 1966. He was teaching at California State University. He was a first-hand observer of the Watts riots in California, and he realized that there needed to be something positive to come out of that. And in his work as an African-American studies professor, he studied African philosophy and history, African-American history, and he wanted to meld the two. So Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday. It's not a heroic holiday. It's not a traditional African festival. It's a creation of America that blends African American experiences together. So part of what he founded was the idea of the Nguzo Saba, which means in Kiswahili, and Kiswahili is an Eastern African language. It's spoken in places like Tanzania, Kenya, and places such as that. So Nguzo Saba means 7 principles, and the principles are umoja, unity, because I am, we are. We have to work together to get things done. Kujishagulia, self-determination, being able not only to determine who you are as an individual, but who you are as a community. And Julia Cooper said in the early 20th century that only she and African-American women like her could determine when and where she entered. So that's that idea of self-determination. Ujima, a collective work and responsibility, the idea that if our communities are going to grow, we have to work together and find solutions that put us together working. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. I mentioned that Kiswahili is an Eastern African word. The first president of Tanzania developed a system of socialism that he called Ujamaa, or African socialism, that looked at the idea of cooperative economics. You know, today we talk about how many times does a dollar roll over in a community, and making sure that the dollar rolls over more than 3 times or 4 times in our community. That's the idea of a time, cooperative economics. Nia, purpose. You have to have a purpose in this world. You know, I worked for 12 years at the Pineywood School, and Dr. Jones always asked, do you want an education? Because he knew from an early age that his purpose in the world was to provide education. But he also knew that the community had to realize that they needed an education and they wanted education. So when he came to Mississippi, he came to an area that had been trying to build a school for 25 years. But they recognized that their purpose was education, and that's how they were going to uplift the community. Kuumba, creativity. And creativity doesn't just mean being able to sing, draw, paint, dance, or whatever, but leaving your community better than you found it. You know, we look around Jackson and there is trash, there's dirt, so there's creativity we can do in just cleaning up the community in Jackson, finding things for people to do so that we don't have alerts on our phones that say somebody got shot or something that's happened. That's part of creativity, making the community better. And then faith. Now, Mauna Karenga did not envision Kwanzaa as a religious holiday, even though there are denominations that endorse the celebration of Kwanzaa. So when he's talking about faith, he's not just talking about faith in a creator or a higher power, but faith in our community, faith in our struggle, faith in our families, our children, all of the above. So those are the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
That's a great summary of Kwanzaa and what it means and its principles. And Pam, as you stated, we've been partnering with the museum now since, I think, 2017, like you said, before at Smith Robinson when you were over there. Why did you decide that this partnership around Kwanzaa and the museums was a good fit?
Well, Women for Progress is an amazing organization of women. And so when you think about women and the role that women have played, why not put this component on the shoulders of women to be able to bring a mass amount of people to the 2 Mississippi museums with a larger platform. So I wanted that to happen here. You know, Smith Robinson with this intimacy and just amazing history. But I thought that this place could bring so many more people, where people were standing in hallways and what have you. Now people could come in on a grander scale. And it did that. Right before COVID, we did Kwanzaa again. Yeah. And the numbers were massive. 350 people or more were in the 2 Mississippi museums for this. And our mayor who came out and did the libation, he and his wife and family, and the libation ceremony, which brings so much to my heart. And we think about these buildings, which consist of all of these 7 principles. Mm-hmm. And for the state of Mississippi, what better program being brought to us than Kwanzaa?
Yes, we too thought it was a perfect fit. I mean, our first year in partnership with the museum, we had over 400 people. I think it was around 450 people. And they were not just from Mississippi. We had people who drove over from Alabama, up from Louisiana, over in Texas. And those people keep coming back year after year. So one of the major things that it allowed us to do is reach people even in a broader area. And families brought their families to Kwanzaa, and then they continue to grow with those individuals who we got emails from after that said, I didn't know what Kwanzaa meant, but when I showed up at Kwanzaa and learned about the true meaning of Kwanzaa and the principles, and now it has become so important in my family, in the lives of my family and my children, and I make sure that they understand those principles. So family, and that's what we wanted to do. That's the whole purpose of Kwanzaa, is of course to celebrate it, but also make sure that we share the principles of Kwanzaa and share with each other. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful event. And we're going to now, in 2020, when we're talking about reaching and expanding our footprint, because we're going to be live and on social media, we're going to be able to reach people all over the world. Because anywhere there's internet access, people will be able to celebrate with us. And so we're excited about it. We still want people to participate because we need you to share the dates of these events. We want you to be able to, as we make our broadcast, we want you to comment in. We want you to share some of your stories or comments in the comment section. We want you to email us. We're going to provide all that information, and we just want to share with you. And those who need help, who still need help during this pandemic, we also want you to reach out to us. So this needs to be again the same type of participation. Kwanzaa is not an event that you just go to and pay a ticket or something. It's free. It's always been free, but it's a participatory event. You come and you celebrate with us, and you learn and celebrate and clap and have a great time. And in the past, we've had some great food, but this is the first year we won't be in person to be able to get some. Oh my goodness, the food that we had from our local vendors have been fantastic.
It surely has, Will.
So I don't know what we're going to come up with something that we have to do that particular week. Maybe we'll schedule something outside. I don't know. But the food was just fantastic. But we look forward to doing that again. But Angela, tell us a little bit about the format this year. Okay, I know we're still in the midst of planning, but tell people what kind of things that they can expect.
Well, one of the things we do, since we are in the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum, we look at Mississippi civil rights icons. And so we are pairing local honorees, current day honorees, with civil rights icons who are featured in the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum. And I want to mention one thing. Pam is so modest. She really is. I worked with the Mississippi Department of Archives and History for over 20 years. And when I started, there were no African Americans in curatorial positions in the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. And now we have Pam as director of the two museums. So that is...
Thank you.
And one of the persons who I know would be cheering the most and the most proud about it is one of our civil rights icons this year, Dr. Gilbert Mason. Mm-hmm. Dr. Gilbert Mason is from Jackson, Mississippi originally. He attended Lanier High School. He grew up around the corner from Smith Robertson Museum. He was the first African American on the board of the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, and he loved that organization. I know that because I worked at the hospital, and he would come through. He was also a fearless advocate for civil rights. He was a medical doctor. He was a physician. So on the Mississippi Gulf Coast in Biloxi, and people had the audacity to try to segregate the Gulf of Mexico, segregate a body of water. But Dr. Felix Dunn and Dr. Gilbert Mason were among the leaders of the wade-in movement on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So he is one of the people that we'll be featuring. So the Civil Rights Museum leadership will be guiding us through and sharing with us information about Gilbert Mason, as well as the sisters Dory and Joyce Ladner, who were from the Hattiesburg area, who originally attended Jackson State and then later graduated from Tougaloo College, but who were a significant impact in the movement. You know, a lot of times women in the movement get sort of shortchanged. But Joyce and Dory Ladner and their role model, Victoria Gray Adams, who was also from Hattiesburg, were significant influences on the Mississippi Civil Rights Movement. So people would be able to find out more about her as well. We also have Dr. Albert Bazard Britton, who grew up in the Church Street area, who owned property in the Fair Street district. And like Dr. Gilbert Mason was a medical doctor who also was fearless in working for civil rights. You know, we hear a lot today about the foot soldiers, and it's important that we acknowledge the foot soldiers in the civil rights movement. But there were also a number of professional people, medical doctors, lawyers, teachers, and others who took stands for civil rights. And these are people that we are highlighting this year. Dr. John Arthur Peoples, who served as president of Jackson State during the tumultuous time of the early 70s. Matter of fact, tonight in 4 minutes, I have to leave because my day job, the Margaret Walker Center, we are having a Gibbs Green event where we will be talking with, in conversation with, 3 survivors, intimate survivors of Gibbs Green. Gloria Green McCrae, whose 17-year-old brother was shot and killed on his way from a part-time job. Demetrius and Philip Gibbs Jr., who lost their father. Philip Gibbs didn't even know Dale was pregnant with Demetrius. Mm-hmm. So not only did Demetrius not get to know his father. His father didn't even know that he was on the way.
Wow.
So tonight, when you have a chance after this event is over, go over to the Jackson State Margaret Walker Center's Facebook page, and along with Dr. Nancy Bristow, we'll be talking about the Gibbs Green tragedy from a very personal standpoint. Because I think sometimes when we think about tragedies, we just think about the individual that died, but we don't think about the impact that that death had on families, on mothers, on wives, on children, on sisters. You know, the Green family only found out about James' death because one of the brothers went looking for him when he didn't return home. And he was found dead by B.F. Roberts' building on Jackson State campus, which means that the state law enforcement were firing in a 360-degree way, because not only were they hitting Alexander Hall, they were hitting B.F. Roberts, which was across the street at that time. So these are the kind of people that, and we go back to our history and look at Ida B. Wells Barnett. And, you know, I know for Pam, that goes back to Smith Robertson, because she has that wonderful quote from Ida B. Wells Barnett in the auditorium at Smith Robertson Museum. But, you know, Ida B. Wells Barnett was a woman from a very young girl in Holly Springs, Mississippi, to her life in Memphis, who whenever she saw something wrong, whether it was lynching, whether it was discrimination in the women's movement, whether it was the outright lies in degradation that professional women and women of all types who were suffering during that time period, she spoke out against it. So she will be another one that we will be featuring. So we're going to talk a little bit about what Kwanzaa is. We're going to introduce you to these wonderful civil rights icons, and we're going to do the candle lighting ceremony and the libation ceremony. The candle lighting ceremony is where we acknowledge all 7 principles. We'll do one each day this year because instead of doing one day, we're doing 7 days. Right. And it allows us to reaffirm the meaning of the principles, as well as we'll be introducing Women for Progress activists and local honorees. And then the libation ceremony, which is an ancient ritual of whenever you gather, you remember those who came before, those who exist now, and those who are yet to be born. And that's what a libation ceremony is all about. We acknowledge our ancestors, not just the Frederick Douglasses and the Ida B. Wells Barnetts, but the Dorothy Stewarts, the Mabel Thompsons, the other people in our immediate families that we've lost. But we also think about those people who are to come, who are coming into a world of COVID, of violence against African Americans, against racism. These are the kinds of things that we are looking at that we need to deal with for our future, for our children, for Theodore, for Ashton, for others who are coming up above. Because here again, going back to my experience at Piney Woods, Dr. Jones always said that it's not about what you have now, it's what are you providing for the future. And that's why he decided to found the Piney Woods School, to make sure that there would be something that would survive beyond him. So that is basically what we will be doing. It'll be an abbreviated version of our usual program. We also have a call for action from Willie Jones, as well as a welcome to the Mississippi Civil Rights Museum and the 2 museums from Pamela Jr. You know, 'cause here again, this is a significant history. We just took down the flag this year. And Pam, you were standing there. And, you know, I think all of us got chills watching you accept that flag as it came down.
An exceptional day.
Yeah.
An exceptional moment.
So these are all the kinds of things that we highlight this year when we look back at 2020 and look forward to 2021.
Yeah. It's going to be a powerful event as usual, and I'm so excited. We're all so excited to be broadcasting this program virtually. I want to give you all the dates. And Angela, whenever you need to step out, just let us know. But I want to give those dates again, December 26th through January 1st, each evening at 6 p.m. And we're going to be broadcasting not only live on the Women for Progress page, but we'll be also on the museum page, correct, Pam? And,
yes, that's very true.
And we'll be sharing that information out actually very shortly. And of course, our amazing Mayor, Mayor Antar Lumumba, will be our griot again this year. He and his father has had a long legacy with Women for Progress and specifically Kwanzaa. So we're glad to have him back again this year. He and his wife, the First Lady. So we're excited about that also, and them being part of this particular event. We'll also be selecting 7 community leaders from all walks of life to be our candlelighters, and we'll be joined by members of Women for Progress. So there's so much to look forward to in this Kwanzaa, and you do not want to miss it. Just schedule your smartphones right now and your reminders on your calendar for each evening at 6 p.m. and join that conversation and that event and broadcast. It's going to be just wonderful, and we need your participation. Share it out with your friends right now. And while I still have you guys on, I want to talk, also just share, Angela, what would you suggest to families right now on how they should share the principles of Kwanzaa right now, even before this particular event, with their family and their children and that type of thing?
That's a great question, Willie. As I heard someone say last night, first of all, have them Google it, get up and see what these principles are. One United Bank, which is a bank out of California, has a wonderful website that deals with Kwanzaa and each of the principles of Kwanzaa, and talks about how you can apply the principles of Kwanzaa to your daily life, and how they are applying Kwanzaa to their work as a community bank. So these are things that, and the idea behind Kwanzaa as well is for children to make things so that they, in this time of COVID and children aren't getting out, they can make stories, they can make artwork, they can make all kinds of things that look at the issue. What does it mean to think about the idea of unity? What does it mean when we talk about creativity or collective work and responsibility? All of these things with older children, with high school children, have them talk about, okay, what do they want for their world? What do they see out there that they want to change? This is 2020, but in 1920, women got the right to vote. And a lot of people don't know that on the Jackson State campus, the Mississippi Federation of Colored Women had a meeting in 1920 talking about women and the right to vote. Now, most African Americans weren't voting, period, in Mississippi in 1920. So for them to get together to talk about the idea of voting and the idea of women voting was a unique event. But also, they looked at their community and said, okay, what do we need to do? I always talk about and I talked about Lawrence, so now I have to talk about his better half. Grace Morris Jones in 1920, she became president of the Mississippi Federation of Colored Women's Clubs. And Erica Thompson, I know you're a doctor, right? One of the things she did is she had a statewide health conference with people like Henry Boswell, Felix Underwood, talking about tuberculosis, talking about all kinds of healthcare issues affecting African Americans in Mississippi and what needed to be done to improve not just health, but nutrition and child care and the care of women and mothers in 1920. These are things that, people told her that, yeah, we don't have a reform school for African-American boys. We send them to Parchman. Matter of fact, if you go on a tour of Parchman, they'll show you pictures of 10 and 11-year-old boys, boys younger than Ashton and Theodore Willie, who've been sent to Parchman for stealing a loaf of bread. Sounds like something out of Victor Hugo. Well, when Grace Jones came to Mississippi and she saw that, she was like, that's not right. And she activated these women to start on their property in Clinton, which they still own, on the Mount Hermon Seminary property, a reform school for African-American boys. It was about seeing a need, and even when people would shut the door in the face and say, we ain't giving no money for that, we're not supporting that, being willing to step out and say, this needs to happen, and making it happen. Yeah. So, introduce kids to things like that and say, now, what do you see in your community that you need to get out and do? And introduce them to people like Macy Brown and other young people who are out there and doing things and really just really having discussions. That's the other thing that Kwanzaa provides for, an opportunity to sit and talk. And it's, again, we're in a high COVID phase right now where, Dr. Dobbs and others are encouraging everybody to stay at home, away from a lot of crowds. So this would be a time to talk and explore, what is it that we want for this world? In the 1920s, a group of children graduating high school had as their motto, there are no Alps. Do you know where it comes from? Erica, Willie, Pam, that expression, there are no Alps.
No.
Well, Hannibal is rumored to have said that to his soldiers when they were crossing the Alps into Rome. He was coming from Africa, looking to conquer Rome. And they said, we can't get over these mountains. And he told them there are no Alps. So you had African-American children in the 1920s who believed there are no Alps. Just because there's segregation, there's lynching, there are all these other things, there are still things that I can accomplish as a young person, so long as I believe there are no Alps.
If I can say one thing, because I have to go, but I just want to thank Women for Progress for the work that you do, and for everybody that's listening that will go back and see this and look at the 7 principles and see who you are. I know 4 of them that I live every day, and I live all 7 principles, but I believe in 4 of those, and I've always believed in those. So look at the principles and see where you stand and the work that you can do. But thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm going to get out of this office right now, but thank you again. And we look forward to recording these days that we're going to be dropping soon, and we'll do our recordings next week. It's going to be an amazing show for everybody to tune in daily, because Kwanzaa is important to us right now. It's a part of us. It's a part of our life. And if we use these principles, just think how far we can go on our next journey.
Just one thing before you walk out, how can we continue to support the museum through this pandemic? Is there something, a call to action that you want to share with us?
Well, one thing that we're doing that we're very impressed with is our virtual field trips. If people are interested and if they can't come to the museum, give us a call here at 601-576. I'm going to mess up, I think, 8,000. But give us a call or look on our website. We are doing virtual field trips, and they have been amazing. We're looking at 60, 70 children at a time. We're right now going to be doing a virtual field trip with the University of Chicago. We're going into Washington, D.C.
Wow.
So, and And that's important for people to, if they can't come here because they're used to coming on trains and planes and buses, we're able to come into their schools virtually. Wow. So that's been one of our great programs, and we're doing 4 and 5 a week. Wow. So we look forward to people calling us. If you want us to come to you, we'll do that. Our staff is amazing, and they're doing a great job here right now.
And thank you for all your work, Pam.
Thank you. Something that I enjoyed. When you know your purpose, when you figure out your purpose and you're able to live your purpose, that's the best part of your life that you can have, because that's what God has given each one of us, a purpose. And for me to know mine, it's great. It's phenomenal. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Pam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Angelo, you good with time, or do you need to step out also?
I'm going to need to step out. Like I said, and if people have chance after this to come to the Margaret Walker Facebook page, like I said, we are having a discussion about Gibbs Green tonight.
And that Facebook page is Margaret Walker Center? Is that the page name? Margaret Walker Center. And that's so folks that are listening right now.
You can just go to Facebook and search for Margaret Walker Center.
Okay.
And it'll come up.
All right. Well,
thanks again, Erica, and for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for stepping in, and we'll tune in as soon as we're off. Thank you. Folks, I just want to remind you again to join that conversation on the Gibbs Green event that happened at the Margaret Walker Center Facebook page, and we're going to be joining it right after. Thank you so much, Dr. Thompson, for sitting in tonight. We really, really appreciate you. So for our last few minutes, though, we want to talk a little bit about, I'm assuming we're talking about the vaccine, but let me open it first to say, let me open for your comments, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So you have the floor.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm just grateful to be on the call tonight, and I just wanted to just comment on Kwanzaa. That was great information and just really, really good. I had the experience to attend my various Women for Progress Kwanzaa, which was actually hosted by Charles Mosley at his house, at his home. And so actually, Dorothy Stewart Samuel, I actually met her at that particular event. My husband was on program to sing for that event, and that was the first introduction I ever had to Kwanzaa, thanks to the Women for Progress.
Wow.
And so I wanted to just give that shout out when she mentioned that. And so we were new couple, married and young, and Kwanzaa was our first introduction to Women for Progress. So thank you.
That's amazing.
So I'm looking forward to this year. I made my notes, and we'll be on for sure, and the children. So I'm excited about that.
Good.
Great time, and it's that will really fall into a lot of the things that we're seeing around COVID, as someone mentioned on the call. And it really is important that we understand all of these principles of self-determination and collective work, because we're going to need that collective work, and we're going to need a lot of community around the vaccine as this time comes for it to roll out. Community awareness, community education, and informing people of places where they can go and what they need to know. And so we are in a great position in Women for Progress on Wednesday with the meeting that you held on Wednesday, talking about the vaccine and letting people know more about it. And so I'll just kind of pause here, and if you want to just kind of talk about a few questions, because we do know the vaccine is coming aboard within the next week. Actually, this Friday, the first dose from Pfizer will actually be airlifted to the U.S. from Belgium. And so we're looking for that and how the storage of all of these different vaccines and what this will mean for citizens as the vaccines roll out.
Well, let me first, I think this week, it was early this week when I heard that the UK was already laying it out. Will we have an opportunity, meaning the U.S., be able to kind of eyeball them and what they're going to be doing on laying this out in the UK before we begin our steps here in the United States. And then the other thing I want you to speak to also is the test that came with this particular vaccine. How confident are you in the facts and evidence out there in the trials that's been put forth so far?
Okay, so to speak to that, the same vaccine UK is rolling out that Pfizer has placed. Right now we have 3 that could possibly be rolling within this month. And so that's Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca is a little delayed because in October they had one of their participants to have a severe effect to the vaccine, so they had to pause in October. So we're looking for them to be a little delayed, but we do know Moderna and Pfizer will be coming aboard. So what we do know for now is that the vaccines will be available. We know both of these vaccines in mid-December to the beginning of the year. The way that the states have to plan, they have to coordinate it with the CDC. So every state is setting up their own individual plans, and they will decide how they will roll that out. There will be a registry that will be created where those who will receive the vaccine will be registered within that registry, so that we will know who has received the vaccine and where they are in that state. We know that the vaccine that is currently through Pfizer and through Moderna, we will have 2 dosages. So you will actually have to take the first dose, and then you'll have to come back and take a second dose. The Pfizer dose, you will take the first dose, you'll wait 21 days, and you'll come back and take the second dose. With Moderna, you'll take the first dose, and it has a 28-day wait. So what we're looking at is how to compare what happens in the UK with what we're doing, is that we know that you will have to maintain with the same vaccine that you first received. You wouldn't be able to do a Pfizer the first one and then switch over to Moderna. So those are going to be some of the things that we'll be looking at. We know that the effectiveness of the vaccines have shown to be great. We've seen like 90% in one group, 60% effectiveness when we saw the 2 doses. One of the issues that we do have is that we don't have a long study to follow. This is the warp speed production of these vaccines. So we don't know what the long-term implications will be. We don't know what long-term side effects will be. We don't know yet how long the antibodies or the protection will be. Will we need to do this yearly? Or, because we don't have enough studies and time. So that is to be addressed. And so it's kind of like, even with UK starting now, we all will be at the same pace of still learning about the vaccinations because we don't have a lot of trials. So we're in that 3rd phase now where this is happening. One of the things that we do know is that how they plan to implement the vaccinations in the state of Mississippi, we're looking at healthcare workers, frontline workers, as the first to receive it, long-term care, nursing home facilities as the first to receive it. And then hopefully then we'll be looking at those with chronic conditions, health conditions, those who are immunocompromised, cancer patients, diabetic patients. But in the initial plan is healthcare workers and long-term and nursing homes. We know that the initial doses, we're only going to have probably about 50 million doses from Pfizer. And if we look at about 20 to 50 million from the amount of doses that we'll get from Moderna, we're looking at possibly around 30 million people. They averaged, if you take all of the doses together, divide them by 2, because each person will have to get 2, that we'll initially have. But we know we have more than that, people who will need to be vaccinated. In November, the president stated that the vaccinations would be free, which was one big question I have received from many people. Will we have to pay for this? The vaccinations will be free. They will be dispersed through some of the pharmacies as well, such as CVS and Walgreens, because if you remember when they first introduced Warp Speed, they had these pharmaceutical companies at the White House talking about their role. But where providers and these entities will be able to charge a fee for reimbursement, they will have what is called an administer fee. So they will be able to charge for an administer fee. So if you are receiving the first dose, the initial bill will be $16.94 that can be charged to like CMS or Medicare. And then the second administration will be $28.39 that can be filed to CMS/Medicare. So they will be able to charge an administer fee, but there will be no fees for the actual vaccinations. And so those are that we know of right now.
So how as the ongoing production for additional vaccines, are we confident that maybe over at least the first part of January that we'll have a large part of our population that at least have received that first vaccination?
We are hoping that will be the case. We do have others in the pipeline, pharmaceutical companies in the pipeline. AstraZeneca has started their study again. So we're thinking by next year we will have 1.3 billion is the number that they have stated by next year. So by the mid of next year, we're hoping that we will have an increase of these vaccines available. The other part is too, hopefully by that time, we'll have more data to actually see the results of what has happened with those who received it in December. So within 6 months, we'll have more data to really show what were some of the effects. Because right now, the side effects that we're seeing in the studies are pretty vague. They're like, you're seeing severe fevers, maybe fatigue, muscle pain, joint pain, headaches. But we don't know from the studies, like 5 months from now, what did anyone see as side effects, or 3 months from now. So if we're doing it December now, by June, the summer, we'll have a 6 month kind of array of data that we can kind of look at and actually survey and kind of see what people, any impacts that they may have had. And that's going to be good for the future.
And we're talking about a diverse population of people. So just like the COVID has affected individuals differently, so will this vaccine. We will have people who have no problems or no symptoms, and then we have others who have had some of these symptoms and maybe even something very, very different than what we are being told. I guess my next concern is, and I have not seen that yet, is how will our governmental leadership and medical leadership help us share information regarding the vaccine, about expectations, about, and I look to for our large churches, organizations like Women for Progress, other community service organizations. We have to be part of that conversation with our community. And I'm very surprised at this point that we already have not been sent some type of language that we can begin to share, because as you stated, we're just maybe a week away from this thing being right here in our lap. So I'm a little concerned about that and maybe I'm missing some information somewhere. Have you seen any information that's being distributed on a local level?
And that's a very good question. And we are also kind of very much like you. We were asked this question, with the state setting out this plan, because each state is basically in communication with the CDC to set out how they plan to roll this out, that we have not, especially as community-based, feet on the ground, faith-based organizations, received that information. So what we're doing, and I know Dr. Melvin was on the call with you on Wednesday, our organizations are actually launching some focus groups within the next month, just to kind of see what are some of the concerns people have around the vaccine, what knowledge do they currently have, so assessing what that knowledge is. I think one of the biggest things that we have to do is educate. We really have to dispel a lot of misinformation and give the facts of what we do know. This is what we know. We don't know this yet, but for now, we do know that, this is something that you have to kind of decide for yourself whether this is something you want to take as a vaccine. But let us tell you what some of the benefits are of what we know today. And I think through education and increased awareness. And so what our organizations are doing, Dr. Melvin's organization, the Institute for the Advancement of Minority Health, is actually working here in the Hinds County and Hattiesburg area in the African American population to really do some of that education and to also really see what are the concerns. When we know what people have as concerns, then we can go and investigate, find those answers, and then bring that information back, which is our role as community-based organizations. Magnolia Medical Foundation, our office on the coast, will actually be doing the focus groups there. And we will be targeting the Hispanic population. So all of the same focus group material that we are using in Jackson, we have translated that to Spanish, and we will be working with that population, which we know is also another population that gives misinformation or no information at all, because many times it's not translated for them to even get it. And so we've taken that information, and we're wanting to know, what do they know? What are their concerns? And then how do we get that information back to those particular population groups? So that's what we're doing in this time. And what we are hoping is that other organizations, like you said, Women for Progress, these are, all of us are in this work because many people look to us for those answers, but also our faith-based communities. And so our job is to really get the word out more about it. But it is limited information because it is limited data. Mm-hmm. And so we're only able to give what we know is given. So, and as this progress is out, as we saw at the beginning of COVID, it was like, oh no, you don't need to wear a mask. Oh yes, we found this data. I'm sure we're going to find that process to happen as this roll out with the vaccines as well. But I think one of the main things that we do is we look to the public health practitioners to give us the evidence-based information, look to the Centers for Disease Control to give us the evidence-based information. And that's what we would have to look to the science for sure, and make sure that we are guiding our decisions and principles based on the science. And so just to let you know one other quick thing, I know right now the two that are coming out are 2 doses. The Moderna and the Pfizer have 2 doses, but Johnson & Johnson is working on one that should come out in February that is a 1 dose. And so that's something else that we'll be able to see. Is there any differences within the 2 doses and 1 doses? Because when AstraZeneca did their first study, they saw when they gave a portion of a dose as opposed to giving double 2 doses, they actually had more effectivity, so effective rate. So when we look at this, I think we're going to learn as we go in this process. So I would just tell everyone, as with anything, we have to be patient and understand, but definitely educate ourselves, make sure that we're reading and listening to what the science is saying about it. And then it all comes back to personal decisions to a degree, and also talking with your providers about what are their ideas for you, because each one of us have a different medical history. We each have a different medical need. And so we definitely need to be having those conversations with our providers, and I'm sure they will have vaccines once they're available within their office. We don't know yet if only the health department will be, providing this. We don't know yet where our disbursements will be for the state of Mississippi. But we do know that they have to be, once they land the vaccines, they have 5 days that they have to be dispersed because they have the special cooling temperatures and all of these things. So we really need to have plans that are ready to go. And so right now is a very important time. And I'm grateful for Women for Progress for allowing us to share this information about the education and awareness around.
Well, we're going to continue to have this dialogue on a regular basis. And I want to say to you at Magnolia Health and also Dr. Melvin, who has the Institute for Minority Health, you all can share that information with us so we can share it out to our sources too, whatever talking points or whatever specific information you have. And then we want to also share it out to our large church congregations and our small church congregations and let them share that information with your constituents also. And I'm so glad you mentioned your medical professionals, your doctors. Your doctors, if your doctor is somebody that you had a relationship with for a long period of time, he or she should be somebody you can trust. So call up your doctor, email your doctor, contact the nurse at your clinic, and ask them what information is available that they have that they can share with you. And I'm hoping they have a whole lot more information than we've been getting. And so let that be your trusted source that you can reach out to. Of course, you can reach out to here at Women for Progress, and we'll also continue to share as much as information that we get. We're going to continue to have dialogues around this probably every week. We're going to be updating you on this information as we get it. We'll share it out to our database. Again, I want to say to folks that the great way to continue to get our ongoing information with Women for Progress, we want you to be part of our database. Email us your name and your email address and your cell number to mail, M-A-I-L, at womenforprogress.net. Mail at womenforprogress.net. And another great way to tap right into us, text the word EMPOWER to 313131, and your information will automatically be added to our database. Text the word EMPOWER, EMPOWER, to 313131, and your contact information will be automatically added into the Women for Progress database. You'll get our e-blasts and whenever we try to be very watch the emails that we send out to you. There's got to be some big activities going on and some important information for us to hit you up on emails. So we know that, I looked at my email this morning. I think I had 79,000 emails I need to get rid of. So I know nobody needs one more email in their box. So we try to be, we are very watchful of that and considerate of your time and all of that. But email us at mail, M-A-I-L, at womenforprogress.net, or text us at 601-259-6770, 601-259-6770, your name and your email address. And if you want to give your cell number, we'll add you to our texting database, which we just very seldom send major information out for you to get because we know people have their phones in their hands. But you decide how you want to communicate with us, either using your email address or your text, or either both. And so we're very, very careful of that, and we'll protect your information in a very, very safe way. So thank you so much for tuning with us, the Women for Progress radio show tonight. Dr. Thompson, it's always a pleasure. You're always so informing us. We appreciate you so very much. And I just say it's amazing that you shared with us your Kwanzaa connection with Women for Progress, and here you are, a part of this organization now, because that was so many years ago. Not only a part of this organization, but part of this radio network, and our person for all health matters topics. Isn't that wonderful? That sounds like a divine connection to me. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much, and I cannot say enough. We appreciate you so very, very much. We want to give you a pat on the back for all the work that you do, but give the contact information for Magnolia Health so folks can reach out to you and your organization.
Sure. We can be contacted by email at magnoliamedfoundation@gmail.com. And you can also call us at 601-613-3737. We also can be, you can also send an email directly to us. We'd be glad to assist you in any way possible. We want to make sure that if anyone is in that Gulf Coast area or you have family in that area, please have them reach out to our office there at 228-860-7530. Especially if they're interested in being a part of those focus groups and conversations we'll be having around COVID and vaccinations. And definitely you can reach out to our office here in Jackson, and we will be glad to link you with the Institute for the Minority for Advancement of Health with Dr. Melvin's office if you're interested in doing it here in the Jackson area. And there are incentives for participating in the focus groups. So please, we have gift cards, and so that's always a great thing that can help during this time. So we would love to have you to be part of those conversations as well.
And Dr. Thompson, as we wrap up, will you tell folks what do you all do at Magnolia Health and what services you provide?
Okay, so at Magnolia Medical Foundation, we're here, and we have 3 locations: Jackson, Gulfport, and Natchez. And our main goal is to help reduce social determinants of health. And so we basically assist families around food insecurities, community health, economic empowerment, as well as workforce development around health careers. So we look at making sure that families actually have all of the resources that they need to sustain themselves and to have a successful health outcome. And so our main goal is to make sure that those things that families need in those areas of food, housing, maternal health, teen health, and just chronic disease management, we take care of those efforts to ensure that we have the quality of life that we were meant to have.
Well, wow. That's a lot. And we're so grateful that you're connecting these resources and opportunities to our communities all over the state of Mississippi. We're proud of your work. And thank you so much. And those who are listening to us right now, even if you don't need these services, make sure you share Dr. Thompson and her organization's information with others, because they are empowering people in an incredible way during this pandemic. Also, you can also reach out to Women for Progress. Please let us know. A lot of people call us for all types of things. Sometimes I almost say this. I'm listening for somebody to call up and say, "Do you have a tractor sitting around?" We get so many diverse calls, and we appreciate that, because one thing we say, if we don't have an answer for you, we will connect you with the resources. So we might not have a tractor, but we might know somebody who has a tractor if you call us. So thank you so much for the support of this great organization. Thanks to Angela Stewart, our Vice President of Women for Progress, for joining us tonight and discussing Kwanzaa. Thanks so much for Pam Jr., the Director of 2 Mississippi Museums, for coming on tonight and co-hosting with us, Women for Progress, again this year for Kwanzaa. Want to give you those dates again as we wrap up. December 26th through January 1st. Every evening at 6 p.m., join us for a broadcast of Kwanzaa that will inspire and uplift and empower you and educate you. So make sure you stay tuned in every single night at 6 p.m. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Shout out to our executive producer always, Miss Juanita Stewart Brown, for putting this show together, for being our executive producer for over 10 years. Shout out to her. We cannot give enough pat on the backs for her incredible commitment to this radio network, Women for Progress Radio Network, who have had a history of our radio network for over 10 years. And gosh, we were looking at the number of shows the other day. Just the ones that we were able to go back and review was over 500 shows. That's just the one that we had. The backup for is over 500 shows, and we know that there's been many, many more. So we're so appreciative to our community for allowing us to do this, to stay connected with us and supporting us. All right, this has been the Women for Progress radio show. Have a great evening. We won't see you again until next week, so have a great weekend. We look forward to talking with you again next week. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.